Let's go to Harrison in New Jersey. Welcome to the program, Harrison.
How you doing?
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Okay, just wanted to call in and start thinking about libertarian principles and try to clarify some things.
Okay, great.
I heard you bring up the EPA yesterday. I guess we could go from something like that, or, my question to you would be, you're concerned about pollution, and I know you brought up the river up in Ohio that lit on fire, and I know there's been also, the Love Canal was, I believe, in upstate New York, where they took EPA officials hostage because there was nothing being done. Have you heard of that story?
I remember Love Canal. There was a lot of pollution in there. I don't remember the specifics, but
right. And I'm from New Jersey. There's also another case that I watched a good movie, and there's two cases in New Jersey. Man versus Ford. You can watch that movie about in Ramapo, North Jersey, with Ford, the car company polluting and all that stuff. But the EPA. My question to you would be: you say the EPA has made regulation and environmental situations better because of the regulations. I have to ask, though, if the federal government is the controlling arm of that, and the federal government is the biggest polluter in the world, aren't you it kind of doesn't make too much sense to ask the biggest polluter in the world to stop pollution?
Well, I don't know why that's the case. Are you suggesting that if they were not stopping corporate, let's just take at face value that the U.S. government is the biggest polluter.
Right.
For the sake of our argument. Why does that in any way implicate the fact that they will clean up corporate pollution? In other words, if there's no EPA in your calculation, how does that mean any less pollution? It means more. Less pollution's better than more pollution. We can agree on that.
Less pollution is better than more pollution, absolutely. The problem is, and as is the problem with all of these government agencies, is the corruptibility and the power that they wield, the auctionability of what they can do for those who have special interest in whatever that segment of the marketplace is. Now,
listen, you and I totally agree on that, but I suspect that the solution to that problem we perceive differently. I look at a situation where the government is being corrupted by corporate influence, and I say we need to empower the government more. We need to have more regulation. We need to regulate money. We need to have clean elections, and strengthen.
And how do you propose doing that? How do you propose doing that?
Strengthen the host that is being corrupted, as opposed to diminishing the host that is being corrupted by this parasite, corporate money, and just money in general. How would I do that? I would put stricter regulations on the revolving door. I would have government financed campaigns. In other words, I would put restrictions, or I would at the very least provide taxpayer funds more aggressively for people who are running. I would cut down on the amount of television advertising that you're allowed to do entering into a campaign. That's where I would start.
Okay, well, that's all micromanaging, and the end game is that the corrupt and evil are going to do whatever they can do to get into positions they want to get into. It doesn't matter if Sam Seder or I or Obama or whoever you want goes in and says you can't do what it is, because they already have laws in the books that say you can't do these things, and they go around it anyway.
Well, listen, you can make the laws stricter, and you can. There's no laws on.
The laws never prevent anything. A law is an opinion with a gun. It's a fence in the middle of a field. It doesn't do any good. The law does no good.
So you're suggesting that we should just, instead of since we should just go to some type of Wild West situation?
No, if you really read about the Wild West instead of the propaganda, you would know how
these things. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect.
No, and neither do I. And I come from a much more, I don't want to say it in any loud way, but we'll just say that I come from a hard strain of libertarianism, which believes that the state is not only unnecessary, but is completely evil, and that the way that we should organize society, or the group of individuals that comprise society, is a free market and private property economic system. And that's
you cannot have a free market without a government or state. You can't. It's
Well,
never
now
existed.
it's just that's just not true, because I can just I listened to your show before. You're promoting organic free trade chocolate, and you're asking for donations, and your show is on the internet for free to whoever wants to listen to it, and people can come voluntarily donate to your website and your show and keep it up and running. There's no coercion involved. That's what the market means. Voluntary interaction between individuals with no coercion. Period. Your show is a free market entity.
Wait a second. I'm not operating there. You know, I have all sorts of constraints. The idea that I'm asking people to donate money or give money for a product, they get extra time. What you're suggesting is ridiculous, and I'm getting paid with. Well, I don't even understand what you're talking about. This is not. Look.
Does the government pay you for your show? Are you paid for it by the government, or do you take donations? I'm not sure how your show operates exactly, but
well, no,
I assume that you're
people pay for the show, but this
Right,
happens in
people
the
voluntarily
context of a society that has rules and regulations.
You're misconstruing it. The seed that sprouts the society is the seed of individualism and involuntary interaction between individuals. Your show, there's a demand out there
They're paying me with
for
government
progressive
tender. If they pay,
that's
listen,
not,
if people send
you're in
in
a coercive.
stuff, if people start sending me cows and chickens, I'll take it. But at the end of the day, that's not going to do it for me. I want cash.
I understand that, and people could. Yes, you want cash. Sadly, the government has a legal monopoly on what money is. Of course, that should not be, but they need to have
What
the
do you
control
mean? Of course, that should not be. Where do you think it gains its value?
Why? It gains its value through the power of the gun held to your head, saying that this has value, accept it or do not.
Dude, what world are you talking about
That's not how money,
where there isn't
legal
coercion?
tender laws. What are laws? Laws are an opinion with a gun. That's what I just said. Laws are an opinion, and the legal tender law says that this piece of paper, which has no value whatsoever behind it, is money, and money is
no. It does
medium
have
of
value.
exchange
I'll tell you why it
arises-
has value. Because I can pay it back to the government, and I can pay off my taxes. Now, yes, they are, in your example, holding a gun to my head and saying, you got to pay taxes. Yeah. What society are you talking about? Tell me a society that has existed like the one that you are imagining can exist.
That is an irrelevant red herring question, because we should not strive for better principles and moral. No. Because there's a moral structure out there that we can follow, that you and I follow in our daily lives. You and I don't walk down the street and say, "Oh, I think we should give money to this homeless man," and you go steal money out of a person's pocket next to you. No, you set up a voluntary organization to give charity, but you're asking the government to do all these things on your behalf while you say that the Republicans are wrong.
Well, you
first
off, you don't know that you and I. First off, you don't know that you and I share the same moral code, and I would feel very confident that there are people.
Truth.
Excuse me. I feel very confident in saying that there are hundreds of millions of people around the world who don't share the same moral code as mine, and so the idea.
There's ways to test that. Philosophy
yes,
is a science, just as
no. There's ways to test it. It's empirical. It's empirical.
It's empirical, right? Through evidence, correct. Philosophy is a science, just as math is, just as geology and chemistry. And there's a scientific method to prove what is right and what is wrong.
Before you and I get to a crazy debate, like math, but aside from that,
it is.
But aside from that,
we can go to Yonah Shimon. We'll go to Yonah Shimon and get a commission.
Wait a second. Hold on for 1 second. If you believe that the free market, that people left to their own devices, really would find the right way, then how do you explain that every single person virtually in the world has organized into some society with that monopoly of force?
Because as there has been through society and through human evolution, there are dark periods and then there's enlightenment. And as you break through the enlightenment and you understand how to move...
What period of enlightenment have people formed the society that you're talking about? By your own definition of what would happen.
There's progression.
By your own definition. Well, listen, if we're going to evolve into just being orbs that are floating around, then maybe at one point you'll have a point.
No.
But
I will not accept that.
But by your own definition, at one point, human beings walked around in nature, And by your own definition, left to their own devices, they created these societies. And there is no example where they haven't created societies where they have some type of a monopoly of force. Even in societies where there was no property rights, if somebody did something that the tribe didn't
There's always property
they'd be
rights.
exiled. Well, no, that's not necessarily the case. But
okay, well, what your point is saying that in 1850, I was saying, listen, guys, we've really got to abolish the USPS because the post office is inefficient, and there will be this thing called email, and it'll send stuff from New Jersey to China in 1 second across the world instantaneously. And you say, that never happened. I've never seen a computer. I don't know what you're talking about. You're dismissing the future because it's
you're
never
right.
happened in the past.
Listen, I will concede that it's very possible sometime in the future that we will be different organisms, and we could organize in a different way.
No, it has nothing to do with different organisms, Sam. It has nothing to do with different organisms. You and I, and listen, this is why, out of all the people, I hate Fox News and all that stuff, but I agree with you, if I can label you guys as progressives, even though you call it, you guys, we all have the correct movement or flow towards where we want everything to be. It's just, how does one get there? And as you said, you believe in the regulation aspect and government, and I view that as strictly the same problem of the coin, which is that the Republicans and the right and the fascists want to use government for their policy. And I don't want anyone to use anything for anyone's policy, but the individual acting in his best self-interest for what is good for him, with no force upon anyone else.
Listen, in a complete vacuum, if I could divorce myself from every aspect of reality, that would be great. I would love to walk around, literally, and I'm not being facetious here, I would love to walk around, in just like wearing a fig leaf and just, picking fruit off the trees. And
I know, you like to make funny examples of my things. I take you seriously, but mine is a fig leaf, naked walking man.
I'm sorry. You're talking about something that has never existed. You're talking about contrary to the human development across. You cannot even cite an example.
Look what human development is. This is human development. You and I speaking through a phone while you're on the internet, and I'm talking to you, and I've never seen your face before.
Right.
This is
all of which has been enabled by government.
Not at all. Not true at all. It's called capital. It starts from man one on a beach.
Go look up how the internet started. Go look up.
It
was government.
I know the whole thing.
It was government.
And that's all skewed. Yeah, right. And that's all skewed, too, because the military did it. There's plenty of research on it on the flip side that shows that it's the contrary. But regardless, you got a man on an island who needs to catch fish. Did the government do anything to help him? No. He found a stick, he sharpened it, and now he's got capital to get his fish. And that's all that it is. It's all stemming from the simple thing that man innovates to better himself in the end.
Harrison, I got to jump, but if you and I find ourselves on a desert island and it's just you and I, then we may be like-minded.
Do not blow my argument out of the water. You guys need to read Stefan Molyneux, Murray Rothbard, the Austrian school.
Yes,
and
the Austrian school is just as fantastic as anything else.
Yeah, we'll go get a knish at Jonas Schimmel's. We'll go get a knish at Jonas Schimmel's.
Okay, I don't know what that means, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Come on, Woody Allen, bro. Hello, where's the Jewish heritage?
I don't know. I don't have instant I don't have an instant recall of all the Woody Allen things, but
West Houston Street by Cass's Deli. I'll see you there.
Okay.
Shalom.
Shalom.